And with that, we open up today's call. This call is also being recorded. If you get a notification on your screen, you would just give us your consent to do so. So, what we bring to you here today is part of our one second. Yeah. So, this podcast that we bring today is a monthly podcast, and the sole purpose of the podcast is to connect with what's going on at a very cosmic level, how it is showing up in our world, and where and all it is impacting us in a very personal manner as well. Some practical tips, some cosmic astrological highlights and themes, as well as global scenarios and its impacts. In this podcast today is hosted by the three of us, myself, Aarti and Roshni. I'm in Bangalore here, and Rosh and Aarti are in Goa. And we do this podcast to somewhere demystify these concepts, which can appear to be very far-fetched sometimes or almost alienated from our everyday life and realities. We also want to bring home the thought that our world, our history, our present, politics, astrology are not separate from each other. We are also very much people who use these guides and tools as part of navigating our times and not just looking at what solutions it can provide us and what fixes it can give us for our fears or what predictions it can make for the future. But rather, we use it in a way that what information, perspectives it can help us so that we can make better sense and form more interconnections of our experiences. So, when you listen to any of us, you don't really have to bother about sitting at one place or paying very highly attuned audio, um, attention to it. You can be moving around, you can lie down, sit back, you might be doing your work, and there would be moments where you may find yourself feeling very resonant with it. So take what really feels like is giving you some kind of value. Because eventually we are here to have some kind of a experience sharing with each one of us and also find some kind of validation which we usually miss out for experiences that do not make sense with our current concepts that we know of. So that's where we are. You have any questions? We will be taking it at the end, and there will be a sharing also towards the end. So now we move on to some of the cosmic updates. And so we start with pulling out some cards from a deck called the Mother Piece. This possibly came up during this time. I was very attracted to both the peace and the spirit of the Great Mother, what it has to tell us. When I say the Great Mother, I do not mean our biological mother or any other spiritual mother, but what it means is the spirit through which all life is born. That's the mother here, and let's see what it has to say during this time for us. I'm pulling out the first card. Let's see what it is. It's a disc card and it's 5 of discs. I can just show it to you here. Yeah. So have a look at the image. See what the image invokes in you. It's a woman. She's doing something with her hands. And there are these circular discs in the background. She's very attentively administering some kind of pressure onto something, as you can see, like making a dough, but very involved, very engrossed in using her hands. So what I want you to do is just connect with this image. Are you drawn to any particular part, any color, any symbol, or do you find any kind of resonance with any of the symbols here? So you can focus on that. And maybe just the posture of the woman here. And I can tell a little bit about it. As you can see that her body here is in some kind of a tension, some kind of a tightness, some kind of a worry. Yeah. Maybe thinking about very basic stuff, very survivalistic stuff. Food, water, shelter, feelings of threat, housing, jobs, very, very basic things. That's what is occupying the mind. Other thing that it also talks about it, though there are these worries, but there is something profoundly shifting and changing in the inside. And it's not manifested. So we are in a kind of a state where the old is not working, we are worried, and the new has not yet come. There can be a sense of inertia, and it can feel like threatening. So a lot of fears could be playing out. So what to do with this energy of this card? So this card is talking about really moving the energy, doing really something very simple, using your physical senses, so to not sink into a kind of a state of unconsciousness. So here you can see this woman is actually kneading the dough. She's pushing it, she's touching it, she's rolling it, and all this keeps her energy moving rather than getting stuck. So that's what these times are invoking in us. Times of deep worry and fear at the global level. That's one of the big themes of our times. And survival is at risk. And yet it is asking us to do very basic, minimal things with our bodies. So that's one message. And with that, we can have some astrological updates.
Hi. I think thank you, Aakanksha, for setting that theme. And I'll just take the last thread that you said, particularly themes around fear and on the other hand, what that woman is doing, and what to even keep doing simple things to not sink, because right now the collective energy is that of sinking, of drowning, of overwhelm, where we're all just, everything is happening so fast that we're trying to hold on to something to not sink. And we're still in Pisces season, which is the last of the astrological signs before we sort of end the astrological year, and then we move on to the new astrological year. So this is the last sign. And just as we always talk about sort of the end of the journey, or the end of a cycle, if you think of a long journey before you reach your destination, that's when, or even a marathon, you think of all the exhaustion, you think of all the bad thoughts, like you start doubting yourself, like, I was stupid to have signed up for this marathon, man. Why am I running? My legs hurt, I am tired. Who does this? No humans do this. Why do we put our bodies through it? And but often it is just right in that sort of last few kilometers, and the moment you cross that finish line and you're on the other side, you're like, oh, that was such a silly thought. That was the best decision of my life. And I want to sign up for the next one. Like if we look at that, anytime we've been on a hike, on a trek, the last part is just excruciating. And you're questioning everything that you did, and all, not just like your decision to even go on a hike, but you're questioning things from your past, like maybe a childhood thought of like, oh, my dad told me I should have never, I was never sporty, I should not even do these things. So that analogy and this visual I wanted to share, because that's how we're feeling right now at an emotional and spiritual level. Pisces energy is very much water energy. Emotions are running very, very high and intense, and also it's the last purge. So think of a whirlpool. Pisces energy sits very underwater, deep to the depths of the ocean. So if you're familiar with Hindu mythology, the Sagar Manthan, the big churning that happened between the Devas and the Asuras, from before there was venom, but before that Amrit could come out, before the nectar that, gives us all energy and everything, it was a whirlpool. It all felt like, everybody who was there felt like the big churning. So this is what is happening, and this is really asking us for, this is the final purge. So if you are getting symbols, this is a time for a lot of dreams, a lot of crazy symbolic dreams. um it's okay, because you might be feeling fears that you think you have dealt with years ago, months ago, and they might suddenly come up, and you might feel even more exhausted and overwhelmed, saying, oh, I thought I dealt with this. Why is this back? Or wait, am I happy? I think I'm happy and excited, but I'm also really scared about this possibility. So as we're in this space, I think what is really critical to remember, as Aakanksha also said, we stick to the everyday. We remember that the way out of this sinking feeling is that actually this needs to happen for us to be able to move. The next, we're feeling this as we're talking about it. The next, as this astrological year ends, the next sign that we get into, the first, the brat, the infant fatale, is Aries energy. Aries is the one that jumps without thinking. That's the one that goes, charges, is very fiery, is very passionate. So that energy is coming in. You are going to cross the finish line. It's coming in about 2 weeks. This big energy shift is happening. So we really are towards the end of everything. So hang on. Know that this, whatever's coming up, is probably residual. It's things that you did not really clear up and needs that clearing. So pay attention to that. Pay attention to, like, a lot of places, especially if you're in the northern hemisphere, things are getting hotter. Pay attention to fluids in your body, how that fluids are feeling in your body, because this is really about taking care. Because in about 2 weeks, that energy is shifting, and you want to be ready to take that leap. You want to be able to jump without thinking, because you're ready. You're like, I take that jump and my muscles will be there with me and my mind will be free and I will have no baggage. So if you feel like something is coming up, it's probably that baggage, emotional, physical, ancestral. Sit with it, feel it, and ground yourself in everyday tasks. Really take care of yourself in a way. Go back to the practices that work, because this is a time of wisdom also. So go back to your practices that work and let this flow. You're right at the end. So, yeah.
Yeah, and like we really felt like connecting astrology and all that we're sensing and feeling, and tarot as well, which I have in my hands, and as I speak, I'm going to pull, connecting that to all that is happening right now in the world. Maybe for the first time in our lifetimes, or maybe the first time in the last few years, there's real threats. There's a lot of fear. Our media is really, cracking down on our nervous systems. And like never before did we feel this level. We thought that after the lockdown and COVID, that we really felt interconnected, and that if something's happening in one part of the world, that other people might not get affected. Like we realize that we're all one underneath these bodies. But now I think there's a whole other level that is being uncovered, and that has to do with colonization, and living in this post-colonial world and what it really means, right? We know for a fact that many countries in our world have been going through a lot of unrest for a long time. And now when we hear about it in the media, we realize that the amount of focus that is put on Eurocentric and American news, like it makes us feel empathy in a different way. And why is that? And a lot of it, if you really see it from a perspective, is because in India, we are living in a post-colonial world where we have been colonized by Europeans, and it affects us, the way we see ourselves and the way we see the world. And we can notice this everywhere. And it brings us closer to connecting to our roots, to who we really are, to realizing that the narratives that we've heard may be a bit different from what we truly feel. And we can't pretend anymore that we are separate, that there is a disconnection. And it's also making it more and more clear that no matter what is going on externally, co-regulation and self-regulation are becoming important. Knowing that yes, there is fear and there is chaos externally, and that this is something that was bound to happen. A lot of the mess that we see now has always existed, and we were just not shown it in the way that it's coming up right now. And as a result of all the escalation that is going on, we can only expect more chaos around us. To like even with climate change, there is a lot of real threat, and we have to figure it out. We can no longer shove it under the carpet. And all I feel is that knowing what our purpose is something that can almost like be a raft that will help us like cruise through this time. Because a lot of us who subscribe to spiritual beliefs always feel like I was born for a purpose. I'm here on earth because of a certain reason. And we might have been a bit confused about it up until now. We might have been like, yeah, when I do this, I feel alive, or these are the people that I felt connected to, or I've never felt like this place is home, and there's something more, and there's this deep yearning. And a lot of us right now, if we try, we almost catapulted towards our destination and our journey. I feel like there's a huge acceleration right now, and it's showing up like as purging right now, because it's that time, when you need to release and let go of all our fear-based connections to the way things used to happen, so that we get almost pulled towards our destination. We get pulled towards what we came here to create. And So that's a lot of the things I'm noticing. There's a huge acceleration when it comes to our purpose. And I'm also noticing that if for those of us who have been resourced, whether it is through personal practice or through supportive friendships or any kind of belief, that keeps us going even when things are chaotic, it's a bit easier to be resilient. I'm noticing this as a very big um, you know, trend across some of my close friends and the communities around me. Like, our ability to navigate the waves is much higher and much better. And that does not go to say that things are easier right now. Like, we're almost in the middle of a tsunami is what it feels like, but our ability to stand our ground, stay in our power, speak our truth no matter what comes in front of us has become almost second nature in a very special way that we may have always been working towards. And this may not resonate with not everyone, but know that this is accessible. This is accessible in a way that it hasn't been before. And I just picked the emperor. And this is exactly what I was speaking about. The emperor is about, sitting on the throne and knowing that the world is in our hands. Like, he has a little globe. And the bees here are about community and friendship and togetherness. The sun is rising in the back, which is about hope, and the masculine principle that things will manifest. All we need to do is get extremely clear, really, really clear on what we're here to do. What do we want? What do we not want? What are we not going to settle for? What is the direction? What do you want to manifest? And here, this little sheep is about innocence, because we're not doing this from a space of ego, we're here to surrender, to serve, and to come together from a space of purpose and devotion and love, the highest form of love and care and compassion for all beings. And we also have the phoenix, which is about death and rebirth and rising, even though there may be challenging situations. So this card, I think, encapsulates a lot of the energy we're being asked to hold, even in the middle of all that is going on. Yeah. Would you like to add anything? Say anything? Wow, I think it was really also interesting this time. All of us met a couple of times in the last week to plan and prepare this session because it's been really intense. We've all been going through a lot, especially dreams. Aakanksha, you can also come in if you want to add, because we've all been having dreams that are revealing a lot to us. And we spoke about this last time as well, about symbols coming through and messages coming through, or really scary dreams, like revealing to us exactly what we've been hiding away from, and like something that's really terrifying. A lot of people have been having dreams or lucid dreams even, where our worst fear comes right in our face and we have the opportunity now to go beyond it. And I'm just going to stop here and see if you or Aakanksha want to say anything about dreams and symbols.
I did want to say something, but about what you said before, and I've completely forgotten it. That has been the energy this time, where you're just hanging on and trying not to sink. And at least I've been feeling very spacey, where I'm just like, what's happening? Is this a dream? Are we in reality? Yeah. Yes, I remember. I think just to the point of connecting the dots between, the intention behind this podcast and accessibility. And also what Aarti just said, that, and what Aakanksha said, that another purpose within that accessibility is also demystifying a lot of these practices, terminology, strategies, tools. It's not that some of us are born with these inherent sort of, crazy magical things. We have all just at some point in our life felt inclined towards one of these practices, and we have used that as a way to just add to our toolbox as we do. I still, for me, I'm, with astrology, I just find a lot of resonance because I use this as part of my self-actualization. Sometimes when, words don't make any sense, I like to have another analogy. Sometimes. So I think the idea is that through this podcast also is that to touch base on what all of us are feeling, and to share with every podcast. We want to bring different strategies and tools that we are also using, we are also experimenting with, and to share it so that we can all become creators of that knowledge. It is not to gatekeep or say I know it and you must listen to my wisdom. We all we all are oracles, right? As Aarti would say.
And also, that we're getting into the right relationship with astrology, tarot, and spirituality, because a lot of people, look down on it, because when you're in fear and confusion, you read an astrology update and then you attach every single word to your identity and hold on to it. The idea is to not be in blind faith, nor in total skepticism. Like, how do you use it wisely with your feet on the ground and figure out your own essence? How does it connect to you? And a lot of the work we do is also around this. So if you want to know more about astrology, please reach out. We'd be really happy to help, and Shachi as well. Yeah, please reach out to us, and we can go further into exploration in your own time. Yeah.
Should we go into the last part? I feel.
Yeah, Aakanksha was like, yeah, let's do this. So we thought that today, to move into closing, we usually come into like practical tips and like come into, okay, what can we do? What's happening in our life? Like very local and very body towards the end, so that it's not like information. It's like, okay, you know what? Now I'm coming back to myself. So just taking a moment to see, what does everything that we shared mean to you right now? Which aspects of your life are you experiencing a little distress, and then realizing that there is, the old has moved out and the new is still coming in. There's that, sitting in the void energy, or, where are you feeling that watery Pisces energy show up most in your life? And are you feeling that existential fear somewhere in your body? And yeah, and what is your relationship to ancient mystical practices? Like, what stayed with you today? And just coming back to your body, to your own experience, to your breath. Our last bit, we're going to do some movement, coming into our bodies, and add an element of silliness and magic, which we feel is much needed during this time. It was Rosh's idea, and we were like, yes!
Yeah, I think it's very old, heavy energy that we're all experiencing. Some of us are experiencing a lot of ancestral stuff come up. Some of us are being harsh to ourselves, being like, come on, I'm an adult, I should be able to handle this better. And I think there's just a lot of pressure right now to be wise and to be able to handle this and to know better. And I found that in times like this, it's important to just like remember the silliness of it all. That at the end of the day, a lot of stuff is quite silly. And a friend recently wrote to me. I was checking in on her, and she was saying, my brain isn't feeling very great. And I asked her, how are your toes feeling? And she laughed. She said, ha 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 ha. What do you mean? I was like, no, how are your toes feeling? Like on your feet, how are your toes doing? And she said, I have no idea. I was like, great, can you check in and let me know? So I guess this is my invitation to you. Take a moment. I'm gonna count till 20. And maybe you have 20 toes, maybe you have 40, maybe you have 3, how many ever. Just check in with your toes and see how they're doing. Count slowly. Take that time. Feel free to touch them. Feel free to wiggle them. Feel free to do it slowly. Feel free to do it fast. Yeah, you can look at them and see how they're doing. And also, how does it feel to ask your toes how they're doing? When was the last time you asked your toes how they're doing? You know, they carry a lot. How's this feeling? You think you can move them a little faster? Can we wriggle them a bit faster? If you can, wherever you're sitting, wherever you're standing, it's okay if you're wearing shoes, try and move them in your shoes. If you can't move them in your shoes, maybe you need bigger shoes, you know. Yeah, can we go a little bit faster?
Can we?
What about a little more? Yeah? Yeah. More, a little bit more. I think we can. Think of it. Lots of energy in it. They're their own things, that they're moving on their own. You can't control them. It's like they're going to run away suddenly. They're going to drop off your feet and run away. Yeah? Yeah. How's this going? And let's see if we can slow it a little bit. Just a little bit. Not completely. We're still engaged. They're still attached to the rest of your feet. They're still attached to your body. It's a little bit slower. See how that feels differently than it did when you were moving them fast. And as you're moving it, make it a little bit slower. And while you're doing this, do you think we can touch our ears at the same time? However you want to. Try and touch different parts. You know, there's a little cartilage on top. We have some stuff going in. There's a little knobbly bits at the bottom. Maybe touch them with the back of your hand. What's happening to your toes? Have we stopped moving our toes? Okay, that's okay. Touch them from the front of your palm. See if you can just hold them. See if you can touch your elbows together while you're doing this. Can you clap your elbows together as you do this? Can we go faster? A little bit faster. Faster. Keep going. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well done. How are we feeling?
I haven't laughed this much in many days.
Feel free to continue doing this. But I just wanted to do, touch ourselves, feel a bit of movement, feel a bit silly. Sometimes I think there's been a lot of emphasis on movement in the last few months. Everybody's like, oh, put some movement. I have so many steps and I lift weights, but sometimes movement looks like just moving our nose a little bit differently, It doesn't have to be, just physically moving. And just being like, wow, that feels so weird when I do that to my face. Oh my God, I've never really done it. Whoa, I don't like it. Maybe I'm just going to talk like that. Who knows? Maybe, we're purging. Maybe I don't want to talk like this anymore. Maybe I just want to talk like this starting the Aries season and see if people take me very, very seriously. So see the silly side of things, because the heavy stuff will always be there. Yeah.
Thanks for that. Like, we were really excited for this bit because we knew we needed it. And for those of you who want to stay on longer, we're going to do like more of a free movements piece, and we're going to go off video and off recording so we can have our own intimate space and share about what came up for you guys. Those of you who are watching the video, if you do join us live, you can actually interact with us and chat with us, and it won't be recorded, so it can be like, connection, real connection. Yeah, for next time. And also, I really wanted to share and express gratitude about the fact that we now have support to make this podcast happen. Now we have a team, and like we have support with preparing and editing and things like that. It's such a relief because it's really coming together. We're all taking on just as much as we can, and it's teaching us, like even though the new hasn't come yet, there are amazing ways to come together and work in a way that each of our health is taken care of, our priorities are, maintained, and we're just wondering, like being curious, like if we want to do it in a way that's sustainable, how does that look? So it's been really beautiful, like our journey, of starting suddenly and then saying, okay, we got to do it, and now optimizing it. And thank you so much for supporting us and for helping us share this with you with joy and aliveness. And yeah, that's all from us this time. Aakanksha, do you want to share anything? No, you're good. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to stop the recording.